Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this beautiful Marvelous Mauve Crochet Cowl. And there are the photos on the mannequin. How exciting. And look at how you can actually wear this cowl. And as you can see on the mannequin, there are many different ways of wearing your beautiful cowl. So what can I say, guys? Let's just talk about the yarn firstly. The yarn is called, it's a beautiful purple. I love it so much. I'll just move that away for a second. It's called Sparkling Grape by Bendigo Woollen Mills. It is a luxury brand. Now I used 80 grams or roughly around 160 to 170 meters. Yeah, it does have 400 meters in this skein, but the fact that I used under half, so half would be the 200 meters, so roughly around 180, something like that maximum. But that is for the extra small to small cowl. So if you wanted to make between the medium and the 5 extra large, you will probably need 200 meters or at least 100 grams worth of yarn. All right, these are just rough measurements depending on your size. The other option I give you during the tutorial is if you wanted yours to be even fuller on your neck, like really puffed out on your neck, you would need to do some more stitches along the sides. I already give you the amount of stitches per size anyways, so probably stick to those stitches per size and stick to the amounts of cross and everything should work out gorgeous. All right, so that's that. I also in the tutorial give you an option if you want to place a button up the top. The only problem with the button is if you place it up the top, it's going to be harder to wear this way, unless you don't mind your button on the side of your shoulder, or to wear it this way, unless you don't mind the button at the back, right? But if you place it this way, your button will be on the front. And check this button out, it's double-sided. You can either wear it this way or you can wear it that way. How cool is this button? I love, love, love. Wonder why it costs so much. All right, so she got so sidetracked. So you will need a 4mm hook for this tutorial. It does call for a 4mm. You'll need that. You will need between 2 and 5 stitch markers, or if you've got clips that you can keep your pieces together, even better. You will need, now I tell you what, I did use two sewing needles, but you won't need them. I'm making a mess here, I just tipped everything. I used the darning needle with the little flick, that little flick thing, and then I used a sewing needle to sew in the ends. This is not necessary, guys, but you could just use one. I'm just being pedantic and I made an absolute mess. You don't want to see that. All right, that's it, guys. Oh, I'm lying. You will need your scissors, of course. You'll need your scissors, yeah? All I'm going to say now, guys, is good luck creating the beautiful Marvelous Mauve Crochet Cowl. Alrighty, guys, we're going to start off by making a slip knot. Grab the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your finger once and twice, holding it there and holding it down there. Grab the back loop, passing it halfway over your finger, hold it there. Grab the other loop, passing it all the way over your finger. Pop your hook into that loop and give everything a tug. Beautiful. We're going to make chains now. So a chain is a yarn over your hook, pull a loop through to the loop on your hook, 1, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3, yarn over, 4, and 5. So far you've made 5 chains. All right, so what I want you to do is look up on the screen there and you have the sizes of how many chains you will need across. And now these are rough measurements and I have a little bit of leeway in all measurements, so don't stress too much about exact count. Yeah, it's 35 stitches for extra small to small, 40 stitches for medium to 2 extra large, and 45 stitches for 3 extra large to 5 extra large. Now, if you've done an extra stitch or you didn't do enough stitches and you're one short, it doesn't matter. I've given you guys leeway per size, so don't stress too much about it. Now, if you find you want your cowl to sit on you super thick, then you can even do more stitches, okay? The amount I'm giving you, it's a rough guide. It's super easy, this cowl. You'll love it. All right, so we've chained 5. Chain the amount of chains you need for your size right there, and I'll pop this on fast and off we go. 6, 34 and 35. I'm making the extra small and small, But again, there are the size amounts that you need. Yes? All right, so everyone needs to chain just one more, all sizes, yeah? And then you're going to pop your hook in that very first stitch you come to. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops. That's actually a single crochet US double UK, but that's not the end of that stitch. We are making a stacked single crochet or a standing double crochet, yeah? So what you're going to do is your hook is going to go into the base loop of the stitch that you just made. Make sure it's not too tight. So pop your hook in that base loop, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops on your hook. Grab your stitch marker or a piece of thread or a paper clip, hairpin, whatever you have, and pop it through the top 2 loops of that stitch that you just created. The very top 2 loops. And that's your first. We'll classify that as a double crochet. Even though it's a stacked single crochet, stacked double crochet, whatever you want to call it, we'll call that a double crochet. Yarn over your hook. You're in this stitch. You want to go right into the top loop of every other stitch across, doing a double crochet US treble UK. So remember, you are already in that stitch. You're not here, even though you think you are. You are kind of in that first stitch. So move over to the very next stitch, like so. Grab the top loop, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. I'll get a nice close up here. Yarn over your hook, we're going straight into the very next stitch. You see it pulling? We're going into the next one. All right, so hook in, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and that is pretty much it all the way across your row. Super easy, yeah? This double crochet stitch is pretty much the first stitch you learn in crochet, roughly, depending on who's teaching you. And it's double crochet US, treble UK. And it's pretty much the easiest stitch you will do. All right, so your job now is to double crochet in every stitch across, every last stitch across. Get to the last 2 stitches if you will, and I'll meet you there in a moment, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this row. Now I think I've left about 2 stitches, something like that. Oh, that's really close. Sorry guys. It is a bit too close, isn't it? Hello. We don't want that close. All right, so what we have now is a couple of stitches left. I might have left 3, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Looks like 2. All right, let's do the very second last stitch. Make up your mind, Mary. And then let's do our very last stitch right there with a tiny little knot hanging off it, yeah? So what you will have is a little knot like that. Make sure you haven't gone in the knot. All right, so what we're going to do first, I won't take it down, I'll show you. The stitches that you have across should be that many stitches for now, all right? But before we start counting, I just wanted to show you where the stitches are so you know what to count. These, when you look at them, the little letter V looking things, they are the stitches. So there's your 1 and there's your 2 and so on, all right? So count your stitches across and we have 1, from the stitch marker, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Now I'm doing the extra small, so I should have 35 stitches, but if you're doing the medium to 2 extra small to small, I should have 35 stitches. Now if you're doing the medium to 2 extra large, you should have 40, and if you're doing 3 extra large to 5 extra large, you should have 45. Now if you've got 44 or 46 or 35, 36 or 34, that kind of thing, if you're 1 stitch off, it doesn't matter. This is a very versatile pattern. You don't need to count. Very exciting. Don't be more than 4 or 5 stitches off, yeah, because that is centimetres, yeah. But if you're only 1 stitch off, it doesn't matter. All right, so here we are. Yep, we're going to turn our work. You can turn it this way or you can turn it the other way, whichever suits you. I just turn it like, how quickly was that? Like I'm turning the page in a book. No chaining, nothing, just turning your work. All right. Now to do this part here, once again we're going to do our stacked double crochet, but you need to hold your thread when you're doing it. I usually hold it with a thumb, and then I pop my hook in exactly the same stitch our thread is coming out of. All right, so make sure you hold that there, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, and now you can let go, doing the first part of your stacked double crochet, which is actually your stacked single crochet. If you had to think about it, your single crochets are stacked on top of each other. All right, and then you are popping your single crochet in that base loop. It's kind of like on the side as well, so base side loop, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops, grab your stitch marker, like so. Top 2 loops like you did before. Okay, that stitch can be a little tricky. If you want to do a chain 3 instead, 1, 2, 3 in chains, by all means you can do that. All right, now before we do this row, I just wanted to show you the stitches one more time, because we are going to be popping these double crochets in the back loop only of your stitching. All right, so when you face your stitch to you, you'll see those 2 loops. You're popping your hook normally in the top 2 loops like that. That's in the stitch of your work, yeah? But what we want to do is skip that back loop. I'm sorry, let's try that again. Is skip the front loop. It's actually the back loop on the other side, but because we're working from this angle, it's a front loop. So we're skipping the front loop and we're going into the back loop and we're doing our double crochet. Then we go into the back loop of the next stitch and do our double crochet, and so on all the way across. All right, so I'll show you properly with the stitch. Yarn over your hook, face your work to you so you can see the top of your stitch, and pop your hook in the back loop right there. All right, not the front, but in the back loop of your very next stitch. You're already in this stitch, so turn it over. There's your first stitch you come to, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. You know this stitch, we did it all the way down here. Yarn over your hook, into the back loop, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, 2, 2 loops, yarn over, 2, and again into the next stitch. Always helps to face your work to you so you can see where you're putting your hook. If you left it like this and went to the back, you've got the risk of literally splitting that first stitch, and you don't want to do that, yeah? So go directly into it like this, that way, and then go into the stitch. All right, hope that helps with back loops only. I've also done a tutorial here on our channel, which I will pop a link in the description box down below, of how to do a double crochet in the back loop only. Now that's double crochet US, treble UK. All right, so what I'm going to do is let you head off. Let's try that again. Head off on your own and continue in that manner, double crocheting in the back loop only of every stitch all the way across. Get to a stitch just before your stitch marker, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of this row, and you can tell what we've done here by going into the back loops. It's formed a little ridge or a bubbled edge look, if you will. Alright, but when we get to the end of the row and we have one last stitch, you're actually going in the whole stitch with the stitch marker. All right, so yarn over your hook and you're going through the whole stitch like so, not in the back loop, just the whole stitch. Easy, easy. Well, you want to hear how easy this is? That is your repeat row for the whole pattern. Super easy, right? All right, so before I send you off on your own to repeat a million rows, let's just pop a stitch marker in the loop like that. And just in case you walk away, you don't undo your work. Yep. Before you do anything, just face your work to you with the right side facing. How do you know if it's the right side? We had the chains, we came all the way across on the chains, and then we turned and did our stacked single crochet, or a standing double crochet, and did double crochets all the way across. What I want you to do is grab a stitch marker of a different color, doesn't matter, could be the same. Just go on the second or third stitch, just pop your stitch marker around that post area or anywhere around a stitch, just on that front side of your work. All right, so that shows you the front of your work. We won't worry about that for now. Let's just keep going. We'll talk about that later. For now, where you need to be is here. What do you need to do so far? Easy. Face your work this way. I want you to grab a measuring tape, and you're going to make the amount of rows to suit your measurements. Now, what are your measurements, I hear you ask? Having a look up on the screen right there, and you have extra small to small is roughly 48 centimetres or 19 inches. Medium to 2 extra large, roughly 51 centimetres or 20 inches. And 3 extra large to 5 extra large is 53 centimetres or 21 inches. Now, they are rough measurements, give or take half a centimetre here or there. So don't stress if your tension makes you go a little tiny bit over. It doesn't matter. I've given everyone leeway. All right, I'll tell you how many rows I did in a minute, but let's just show you what I mean. You start your measuring tape on the base of your work and you keep crocheting until, let's just say for argument's sake, you are a extra small and small. Yours was, what did I say it was? Was it 48? Hello, here it is. Hello, let's get close. 48 or 19 inches, yeah. And medium to 2 extra large, yours was 51 centimetres or 20 inches. 3 extra large to 5 extra large, yours is 53 centimetres or 21 inches. Now these, again, look, it's 53 point something centimetres to make 21 inches. So it doesn't matter either way if you go up a tiny little bit or down a tiny bit. Just try and stick to the main frame. However, if you want to know exactly how many rows I did for extra small, for my tension, if you will, I did 50 rows across. Entirely up to you on how many rows you want to do, but maybe go between 45 and 50. Once you get to 45 centimetres, start to measure your piece. All right. Now, if you are using a thicker yarn than I am, just be wary. It's going to be extra wide and it's going to be extra long as well. So just be wary of that. But in the meantime, your job is to repeat that last row that we did for the amount of rows you need for your measurement. So give yourself roughly between 45 and 50 rows. Meet me back here once you're done, and we'll talk about measurements and what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of as many rows as you wanted to make your measurements. What are the measurements, I hear you ask? Once again, I will let you know. Grab your measuring tape. Oh, before you do though, just sort of pop your piece into place, because this is a pattern that if you pull a bit too tight with it, it can stretch it. We want to pop it just back into place where it's not stretched. All right, so grab your measuring tape and measure all the way across to your measurement, and your measurement is, let's have another look, close up there. Now, for extra small and small, between 48 centimetres, 19 inches roughly, yep. Medium to 2 extra large, yours is around 51 centimetres or 20 inches roughly. And for 3 extra large to 5 extra large, yours is 53 centimetres or 21 inches. These are all rough measurements. I've given you a little bit of leeway for each measurement, all right? So keep that in mind when we do the very next step. But before we do the next step, I just want you to grab your, once you have your measurement that is, grab your piece and you're at the end of the row, yep. all you need to do, finish off your last stitch. Hello, this is too far away. Finish off your last stitch, pull up a loop like so. Now, you want to cut your work, but before you do, you need enough to get you across this way, right? So let's say, I don't know, give yourself a handful, then go across this way again, even though we're not going to double it, and give yourself another handful. Grab your scissors, cut your work. All right, that should be plenty to sew in the seam, which we're going to do in a minute. Just pull your tail through, give it a gentle tug like so, and you're good to go. And that's what you have so far, right? Now remember, I asked you to place a stitch marker on your second or third stitch, which is right here. So that stitch marker needs to be facing you, the side of that stitch marker. So there's your stitch marker, it's facing you, which means this is the right side of your work. And once again, a lot of people will say, it doesn't matter because you're going up and down, so it doesn't matter. It looks the same from both sides, but I like to be, prim and proper. Don't you love it? So you've got your right side facing you and your wrong side is at the base of your work, yeah? What you're going to do is grab the top corner of your right side and just bring it down like so, yeah? Grab the base corner of this side. Now please ignore my tails. I was getting rid of a few small ends that I had, so just ignore the tails. Grab the base end of your work and bring it up. All right, let's get these tails out of the way. Dearie me, this is what happens when you try to get rid of all your bibs and bobs, yeah? Your stash busting tails. All right, so this is what you have so far. Doesn't marry up, that's okay. We're going to turn it to ourselves. We're going to grab a stitch marker and we're going to count 8 rows up. And how we do that is we count, see the back loop row, 1, and then the indented row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It lands on the indented row on this side. So grab your stitch marker and place it in the row of the indented row. For me, yours might have landed on the bubbled. Doesn't matter. I'll explain why in a minute. All right, so what you have is that. Face it the other way, grab a new stitch marker and do exactly the same thing. Oh, it's too close. Sorry, guys. Let's try that again. Now, here we're counting from the indented row, or if you have the back loop row, doesn't matter. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And mine landed on the back loop row. Grab your back loop row and go to the opposite side and pop it in the first row of the opposite side. Turn it around. Grab your back loop row on this side, which we should have done before, and pop it in the first row of the opposite side. So in actual fact, my rows marry up, all right? Bubbled is the bubbled, flat is the flat, bubble, indent, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter, right? Now, this is where the leeway comes in. If your rows do not marry up, you can move one forward, okay? One row forward. You can go 9 rows or you can go 7 rows. Preferably go the 9 rows and not the 7. I've given you the leeway to go a little bit further, all right? So if your pieces don't match up, make sure you move one row up and your actual rows will line up. So I hope that made sense, yeah? You want your rows to line up, yeah? Then you want to grab your sewing needle. Now I have one of these little, little flick. They're called darning needles, yeah? I have one of these. Not necessary for you to have these, but if you have a needle with a more flatter edge than the pointy one, it's a lot better in this case. These pointy ones do tend to split your yarn when you are doing sewing seams together in this case, but you can always use the pointy one as well. Okay, these are just little tips if you are interested in trying these darning needles with the flat base so you don't get hurt like I do every time I weave in ends. Let's not go there. All right, so find the edge with the longest, or your longest tail. You could use the shorter tail if you like, but the one with your longest tail that we just, let me bring that out, that we just cut, yeah? doesn't want to work. Here we go. The longest tail that we just cut, yeah. So you thread your needle. Now I'm lucky enough to have a big eye on this one. If you've got a small eye, doesn't matter. I always have trouble threading needles on air. It's usually I do it off air. And you guys are probably laughing at me in the background, but that's fine. All right, so you go over here. If you like to stop things from moving around, just grab another stitch marker, which I think is a very wise idea. The fact that I've got tails hanging off mine, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to get rid of my stash, guys. And just keep marrying up your rows just to stop it from moving around. Let's do this side here because there's no tails. To stop it from moving around. To go to the back loop edge, the indented edge, it doesn't matter. All right, grab this other one and go to the other indented side or the other back loop side. I've got a lot of tails here, so I might find another edge to pop a stitch marker in, only because I've got tails which shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be there, not really. In fact, I could probably use these tails to sew on both sides, which I might do off air. But I want to show you how we use the main tail of your work to start the end, all right? Which I'm not going to do. I'm going to use these leftover tails, to be fair, and then just to use this main one to weave in later, but that you don't have to worry about that. All right, so that was way too much information for you. You are here. You can take off, now that you've placed these other stitch markers, you can take off this stitch marker. All right, now I am going to, you can probably actually better off using clips. That keeps your work together. You're better off using something like that than using stitch markers, because they can move a little bit, yeah. But I'm not worried for mine. I'm just going to turn it this way, get it out the way so you don't get blurred vision. Now we are already in this tail here, and if we continue to work from here, it's going to pull. So what we're going to do before we do anything, make sure your lines marry up. I'm just going to go into the opposite side in any stitch on the opposite side. All right, now this part doesn't matter, it's just pulling it over so your work is sitting close. All right, leave it like that. I've just moved it out of place, haven't I? Well, excuse me, how did you manage that, Mary? Come on, let's get organised, Mary. Let's try that again. I've just moved my piece right out of place. How on earth did I manage that? I think because I put the stitch markers in crooked. Well, excuse me. All right, so there we go. What you want to do is go back into that first piece. This is just I'm sorry, let's try that again on this side. Go into the first stitch, the stitch where your thread came from, and then into the stitch on the opposite side. That's just reinforcing that top area once. Notice how I say once. We're going to do it a second time. You don't want that top area to come undone. That's the part that's going to tug when you wear your cowl, if you will, or your scarf, whatever you want to call it. All right. Then, once you've done that, you go into the very next stitch and the opposite next stitch, keeping your rows straight. Now, before you continue, to make sure you haven't messed up your row, if you've got dog clips on yours, then that's okay. Your rows won't mess. Oh, my row's okay. Good. I'm going to take out these stitch markers because I think they're actually making my rows move. So if you've got clips, they work better. So you want to grab your piece, making sure everything marries up. It's a bit dark in here today, guys, because we have overcast today. Of course we do. Now you're going into stitch on one side and a stitch on the opposite. Now if you can't go through the stitch, you can go through the space, but preferably the stitch is better. All right, into the very next stitch like so, on one side, next stitch on the other, and so on all the way up. All right, I'm not going to show you anymore because I'm going to take mine undone and use these guys here. I'm going to let you head off on your own. Continue this all the way across, making sure you are keeping your edges the same. So you don't end up like this and you've got a hole or something, yeah? Or you don't end up like that, stretching your work. Each row must marry the other row. Once you get to this stitch marker right here, wait for me there and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so just continue all the way along, get to your very last stitch marker, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of the row. You'll have to excuse the weather today, guys. The sun and the clouds are having an argument all day. One is coming out and one is going in. It's all over the place. Remove your stitch marker. She just got so sidetracked there, guys. Now, what you have left is that. Now, if you're anything like me, you try to stay as straight as possible when you attached your seams. It's not too bad, actually. Now, I've got a little tail here, which I'm going to actually have to weave in over my work. All right, so that's my tail, yep. But in the meantime, we are still finishing off. Where am I? I'm there. Yeah, I'm going to go right into that very kind of next stitch and the center stitch there. And there was no right way of doing it, as long as you got into stitches and not kind of into big spaces like that. Yeah, you don't want that. But, you know, if you couldn't do that, that's fine too. You know, there's no right or wrong, really. Sewing up seams are just one of those things. You just take it all with a grain of salt. Don't you love it? Take it all with a grain of salt, she says. All right, so that's our last piece. That's got a really big gap in it, but I'm still going in it anyway. Before I pull it through, I'm just going to find a little loop like that and just pull it through that loop. It'll just tighten it up a little. Now, if you don't have this, do what you did over here, but I'm going to drop this tail and use this piece to do what I did there. All right, now you don't have to worry about it if you don't have it, but if you're still on this tail, this is what I want you to do. Turn your work to you and just make sure that you can go into the stitch you are in and the opposite side and just tighten it up. All right, and all it is just reinforcing it so it doesn't come undone. If that bothers you and the loop is still sitting up, lift a loop from underneath it and go back into the same stitch. Might tug a little bit, but it'll be better than having it come undone. You don't want that to come undone. It shouldn't, but just in case. Then you're grabbing your piece right here. I think this needle might be too thick for this part of weaving. I think it is. What you want to do now, I'm just going to change my needle. Start weaving in your end. And I've got a piece of thread in there attached from something else, but there you go. Start weaving in your end, your little tail. Now you're weaving it in on the side that you sewed into, not the other side, all right? Make sure you're weaving it in to this side here. So all you're doing is going along the stitches, just on the outside of the stitches. You can actually split yarn if you want. People tell me off for doing that, but you know, I'm a rebel. And so you split the yarn, try not to let it be visible from this side, and just pull your thread through the nice tight stitches that you have there. Being careful not to tug too tight or this is going to turn in. All right. You might want to do more if you like. You don't have to. I'm just going to do a little bit more. Oops, check the front. Always check the front. Yeah. Turn it around the opposite direction and go back in some different stitches. Okay, these are almost the same, but I started on a different stitch. Have a good look and make sure you can't see that needle, yeah? And just pull it through like so. You could do one more, but I've got this thread here that I'd like to do. Now, if you've got an extra thread, then by all means do the extra thread. All right, I'm going to leave mine for a minute. I'll just do it real quickly, and I'll pop this on fast so that you can all see it. Yeah, and here we go. Let's go. Off we go. Alrighty, that was just me weaving in the last end. You didn't have to see me do that. I just left it on air for the sake of leaving it there. All right, moving everything out the way. And what you have so far is this right here. And you don't need the stitch markers there anymore, but I'm leaving them there. I'll take this one here out. That was just the end of a row. But this is the one where we still have our right side facing. Yeah, so this is actually the wrong side of your work. Yeah, looking careful at it, it looks like, I don't know, a little spaceship of some sort. Now all you want to do is flip it like that. All right, flip it like so. There. Keep flipping a little bit more, and you're right there. All right, now your piece is like that. Yeah, and you can move it over a little bit so it's centered a little bit. And believe it or not, you are officially done. You're looking at it thinking, are you sure? Check out the mannequin. How do you like that? Simply divine. And as you can see, you can wear it in the front, on the side, or even turned around at the back. Simply divine, right? Simply divine. Or if you wanted to, once again, you could, and this is optional, you don't have to do it, and I'm actually not going to do it. You could place a button here and wear it like that, making sure you do it on the right side of your work, going through all thicknesses. The only thing with popping a button on, which is simply divine, is that when you wear it this way, your button's on the side. If you want it on the side, that's fine. Or when you wear it the other way, where you see on that mannequin before, your button will be on the back. Yep, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. I'm not going to place a button. Oh, by the way, see this button? It's double-sided. You can have it on that side, or you can have it on that side. Pretty cool button, huh? Don't you love it? I'm going to keep it for another project, but for now, this is our Marvelous Mauve Cowl complete. All right, once you have organised the front and the right side of your work, and you'll know because the wrong side will be kind of bubbled. Oh, let's get a close-up. The wrong side of your work will be kind of bubbled. All right, so when you wash it, you may find that it'll turn out like that again. Now, if you wanted to, and now again, this is also optional, when you turn it through, let's bring it over like so. When you turn it through like that, again, once again, this is optional. You can actually pop a stitch, pieces of thread, a couple of pieces or a couple of stitches in there like that to stop it from moving if you want, and then a little bit down there as well. But I wouldn't do that because you want to be able to adjust your cowl to suit you in whatever mood, let's try it again, to suit you in whatever mood you are in. Yeah, you can do it further down, which makes your cowl a little bit puffier like that, in whatever mood you are in. Alrighty guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Do all the wonderful things that you guys always do for me. And don't forget also to join us on our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons, 10 a.m. Saturday mornings, Melbourne, Australia time. My name is Mary and this is Wild Crochet Designs, and happy Mother's Day to all our mums. And ciao for now.